Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Binford Chronicles. We're now 51 days into the new year with President Trump back in office, yet you don't hear much talk about January 6th from many of our representatives, do you? Yeah, I know a lot's going on with Doge and all of these negotiations, Ukraine, but we still can't forget our J6ers. I'm here to remind you that the struggle for those affected isn't over. Many are still living a version of life, of a life sentence, at least until they can find renewal and justice. We're not just exploring Brian Mock's experience today. He's going to be our guest today. We're revealing the harsh reality faced by yet another January 6th warrior who has lost everything. This journey uncovers the new, unfiltered truth. These aren't criminals or traitors. They're individuals whose stories are still waiting to be heard and whose lives are still very much affected. It's time to uncover the truth that's been hidden. Join us today as we continue to expose the real story behind January 6th and the ongoing struggle of those who have been pardoned. It's that time, guys, for a commercial break. And I'm having a little trouble. I'm a little distracted because I'm having a little trouble getting them connected. But I'm going to switch over to a commercial break. So stick around. We'll be right back with Brian Mock, J6 warrior, father, and patriot. So hang on. I've got to focus my attention here to get these guys connected. Stand by after this break.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our shared vision network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together like-minded groups and individuals who have committed to making a difference in the lives of our hardworking, everyday heroes. We bridge the gap by connecting warriors or their families with the assistance they deserve and require, such as service dogs, wheelchairs, counseling, scholarships, and team-building retreats, to name a few. You can help right now to make a difference for those who have helped and protected us all. Warrior Shield Foundation, selflessly doing for those who need it most.
It's a long way to home, but you won't take the hard road all alone. Just look to your left and look to your right. You were born to fight.
Hey, welcome aboard, Brian. How are you?
Oh, living the dream. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. I'm really glad that you came on. Sorry about we had a little trouble getting you on, but no sweat.
I'm looking through my email. I'm like, I swear I didn't screw this one up. So, but it's there. I've been all over the place today, so I would have changed into a better shirt, but you have me.
Hey, that's all that's important. We want to hear what's going on with you guys. Everybody seems to have forgotten that the pardon just doesn't solve everything. And there's still a lot of this story that we need to learn and understand because there's so much that's affecting your life still.
Yeah, it's so that's amongst the other things I'm working on. Basically, I kind of took a different path than a lot of guys. I jumped in my truck a couple days after the pardon, and I really haven't stopped driving since. I had a driving and burning passion for, well, one, prison reform, and two was to get an actual investigation of January 6th. So I've lived across the country, and I'm helping guys right now, Jan 6 vets, homeless guys that are homeless, struggling, and we're finding them a home and getting them reintroduced to the world. So in and amongst all the other stuff that I have going on with the government, which is why I'm now in Richmond and working up in DC a ton. So
So
it's
you're
been
in Richmond, Virginia now?
interesting. Yep. So yeah, long crazy story. So I hooked up with in and amongst this last 40 days or so of driving and trying to meet with congressmen and set up a true investigation into Jan 6 and get prison reform done, all of which I've had massive headway. I've spoken with Oversight, Jim Comer, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, Barry Loudermilk. We've set ourselves up in position to be the liaisons between the Jan 6 committee when it actually gets called into office or into being, and the Jan 6 community. So that was kind of step number one, to make sure that there would be an actual Jan 6 investigation, that it would be something that had some teeth, that was led by we the people, and not a bureaucracy again, and not have to worry about one group of people protecting themselves. So
Mm.
we'll be a part of this thing. Every single Jan 6er will have their voice. We've been doing this for 4 years, so we've seen more evidence than anybody in the world. We've seen the corruption. We know the setup. We know the bad actors. We know the truth about Jan 6. We were there. We were the ones that were attacked by the government. The fact that the Jan 6 committee hid 120 minutes from the general public, we will now get to show. And it changes the entire narrative back to the truth, which is actually backed up by dozens upon dozens of officers and every single Jan 6er that was there, every single piece of evidence when taken in its totality. We are going to absolutely blow the doors off of this.
Well,
So,
between all of you guys, you still have a lot of footage on your phones, right? Do you still have a lot of the footage that you took from January 6th?
yes, but as far as the phones go, most of those were with the feds, and people have gotten their phones back in various states of disrepair. So yes and no, but outside of that, we've collected so much evidence and seen so much. When I was in the DC Gulag, as I was locked up a year pre-trial, when I was in there at one point, they went from giving us no evidence to dumping all the evidence on us and opening the entire evidence.com database to us. So we saw all the global discovery, and it was just a treasure trove in there. And we went about quite literally smuggling evidence out. And
Mhm.
I'm saying that at this point, we had a protective order. Actually, we still technically have a protective order. So I will say openly, I'm defying federal law. They coerced us into signing that protective order. I would be happy right now if Pam Bondi came down and arrested me for it, because we're trying to preserve that evidence.com database. We're worried about them actually deleting all of that. So yes, I am actively violating federal law as we speak. I have no problem saying that, because I was coerced into it in the first place, and I think that protective order was illegal. So what I've done is I went and leaked the information that showed that there were undercovers at Jan 6, which is what had to bring Christopher Wray back in front of Congress and admit that they were there. Amongst
Mhm.
other evidence that showed that Pelosi was directly responsible for what happened at January 6th. And a whole myriad of things that I couldn't take credit for back when I was getting persecuted and they would have thrown me back in the gulag. I can come out and openly say now that yes, I did. And there's a ton more that needs to come out. When the world actually sees the full Fanone video, that one will blow you away. It proves that he sat in front of Congress and lied consistently. All of the officers that testified in front of Congress, everyone lied, just bold-faced lies across the board, everything that they had to say.
Mhm, and they also got you guys, just when they arrested you guys, were coercing you to say things. They wanted to set up Trump. They wanted you guys to go against Trump. They basically wanted you to confess to things that weren't true.
Yeah, that was the whole point. So the 1512 obstruction charge is at the heart of what was going on. The 1512, for those that don't know, it's obstruction of official proceeding. This is known as the Enron case. This came after Enron, and basically what it was is around destroying paper evidence, really. So they used this and expanded upon their reach, which the federal government's really good at, and they started using that as saying that we were there with the intention of corruptly obstructing this official proceeding. there was even question over how the wording in this being official proceeding all came to be. But at the end of the day, I was outside of the building, 3 levels below where he could even get into the Capitol when my alleged assaults occurred. And the Congress had already been called out of session, and they somehow claimed that I had obstructed Congress. So I was found guilty of this. It's insane. But the reason being is they wanted to get to Trump. The 1512 was the only felony that they could try to come up with to get him. So what they did with me and others is they literally took one still frame where I did contact the shield. An officer threatened to shoot me. I had been leading officers out that day from the Lower West Terrace. There's film of me patting them on the back. An officer threatened to shoot me. I pushed a shield. He was standing on another shield. He slipped and he fell. That was the worst thing that I did. And for that, I'm considered one of the 81 worst.
Yeah, I've got that video.
Do
you want me to show it? I've got that video. I've got that footage.
His right foot where he's standing in the whole thing. So
I've got that footage. Here, let's pull it up. It's whoops. It happened so fast.
Yeah, if you run it in motion, you can see the shield. It's actually, you see me pointing right there. The officer before him, which you can't see, there's another video that I had in my evidence that shows it, but you'll see my hand pointing. I'm pointing at a door and telling him to leave because he's one of the last.
Right there. Officers. There you are. You have the backpack?
Yep, pointing at that. As you'll see, he's standing on another shield that's on the ground. And
I see it right there.
And you'll see his right foot slip out right after this guy passes in front of him. I'm obviously trying to communicate with him. This guy passes in front, and his right hand goes down towards his gun. You see his head start to dip towards it. And when I make contact,
yeah, you see his back foot right there.
And then his right foot slips straight out, and he falls. And that's the most violent thing that I did the entire day. But if you go back, I have the body cam of the guy next to him, and you hear, you can't really make out the first part, but you hear, "or I'll shoot," in the whole thing. And
in the front, are you talking about the beginning?
No, right before I make contact with the shield, you can hear him say, "or I'll shoot." You won't hear it on this.
Give us some details. What do you mean torture? The government doesn't torture people. Come on, man.
I didn't mean to throw that up there yet.
Oh, good. No, that's to come. That was the fun at CPAC. So yeah, that was my most violent act of the day. And I always fully admitted that. I said, yeah, I absolutely pushed the shield. The guy fell. I'd like to think I'm big and bad enough to be able to put a guy on his butt from a push, but the reality is that ain't happening.
There were shields all over the place there.
Yeah, this was stuff that the police had discarded. At that point, the Lower West Terrace had broken down. The lead up to this for 5 minutes, I'm keeping my distance from the police. I'm pointing at this door. I'm urging them to get out. I'm helping pick officers off the ground. And so they took that. That was their big violent image of me on January 6th. Like I said, there's other videos that exist that you can hear him say, "or I'll shoot." You can watch his hand come down towards his waist. And it was a split-second reaction on my part. I freaked out. I've never had someone threaten to shoot me before. And I came out and I pushed the shield. Unfortunately, they were standing on the other one. If he hadn't have been, none of this would have happened to me. And so to the right of me was the entire press corps. So you had, CNN, MSN, BBC. So there's lots of different images of that that they had. And so that became one of the awful, violent images of January 6th. And the fact that was the worst that they could come up with should tell you something. That wasn't inside the building. I never went in. I never destroyed anything. And what you don't see before that was me literally patting officers on the back, being like, "you need to go," because everything was breaking down. And what they didn't see behind them is that all the other officers had left. So they're kind of on this island. And it's like, "you guys need to go, get out of here." And again, what they don't show is the 120 minutes where they were literally shooting us. They opened up fire from up top with rubber bullets and pepper balls. Then they came down and started indiscriminately tasing us. They brought out bike racks and started shoving them into us. They started throwing explosives into the crowd. Um,
Mhm. I've got
this
footage on that too, yeah, I've seen that.
Tons of it, and there's stuff that people haven't seen, that are buried that the government has been trying to hide for the last 4 years. So that's what we're trying to get out to the public and just go look. If I was guilty of all the things they said, and we had gone there for an insurrection, and it was all an attempt to usurp democracy and put Trump in as a dictator, we'd all be sitting back laughing because we won and went, okay, I'm going to take my pardon and go on about my life. But the fact is that every single Jan 6er, the 1,583 of us, every man and woman there, has said, we want the truth about what happened on Jan 6. We want a full investigation. We want a real investigation. And we want the truth to be known that we weren't there to be violent insurrectionists. We weren't there attacking police. Went there peacefully protesting and got attacked. And
No,
it's that
you
simple.
weren't, and they don't really talk about how peaceful it was there. You know, everybody that went to the rally walked on down and made it to the Capitol, and they were singing, you know, the national anthem. It was peaceful. It was really, because I've talked to a few J6ers and trying to get everybody's story out there, and it was really nice. It was really the Metropolitan Police that kind of instigated a lot of what happened, because you're throwing, you know, I've seen footage where they're throwing those pepper grenades into the crowd, and you could see it from up top, the balcony area. There's nowhere for people to run.
Right. Yep, I'm glad you said the Metro PD too, because that's the big thing of why so many on the right wouldn't say anything, because it was always Capitol Police, Capitol Police, Capitol Police. I'm of the firm belief now the Capitol Police, there's a number of them that did act improperly there, who completely went off and escalated the situation beyond what it should be. But the initial part of that was the Metro PD. Had the Metro PD not been present, this wouldn't have happened at all. Actually, the Capitol Police officer that was in charge on the outside had said that he was ready to call his men back inside and just lock down the Capitol, and nothing would have happened.
Mm,
Um, but the Metro PD showed up, and then everything popped off from there. So no, you're
mhm.
100% right. It definitely was Metro PD, and they weren't just pepper grenades. These were explosives. These were concussion grenades that literally were catching people on fire, blowing up people's faces. Like it was an assault on the American people who were peacefully assembled.
Yeah, I know the rubber bullet went through one of the, I forget his name, the young man. Can't think of his
Yep.
name right now, but he got shot in the face.
Mhm.
I mean,
There were
that was dangerous, shooting those into a crowd like that.
There was no reason. That's what started it off. Is there was some minor pushing amongst a Capitol Police officer and a couple guys. It was contained and done. Like there was, and this is Capitol PD who are trained for this. This is a civil disturbance unit. The guys that are full clad and all the black stormtrooper stuff. They do this all the time. They're trained for it. So there's always protests at the Capitol every single week. And there's times that people get worked up, and it can escalate into some minor pushing, right? Or someone throws something. You know, they're trained to deal with that. And that's all that was. It was two or three dudes who were just being stupid, and tiny pushing, and it was finished. Capitol Police had dealt with it, and the Metro PD then got an order to open fire and just started shooting in the crowd indiscriminately. And nobody could really see up where that had actually occurred, and they weren't targeting those people. That's, when Matthew Black got shot in the face, that was, he's just standing there in the crowd, and boom, he gets busted in the face, and he wasn't the only one. And there's blood all over the ground, and people are going, "What the heck?" And then they pull out those bike racks and start shoving them into people and using them like a weapon. And then the images after that, they wanted to make it seem like there was this line of police and that we were stealing barricades. There were no barricades out there when everybody was lined up. We were just standing there that close to the police. They brought them out and started using them as weapons. So at a certain point, after over an hour of that, of them pushing into us, shooting at us, blowing us up, tear gassing us, beating us, shooting us with OC spray, and then there was a horrible beating of one guy, like a Rodney King style beating, and then this woman getting smashed with a shield and sprayed and knocked downstairs. It finally got the crowd to the point where they tore away the weapons that they were using, and they fell back. And that's when I caught my my whole case was that 5 minutes while they were falling back to
Mm.
go in the building. I thought when they went in the building that was it, that we just got rid of the threat and we're done and we'd walk away. And little did I know that was not going to be the end of any of this for me. And here we are 4 years later.
So, man, the goulash.
Eh.
I hear a lot of stories about the goulash and how your constitutional rights were violated, and it was just a horrible place to be.
Yeah. So I initially got when I got arrested back in June of 21. I found out they were calling my ex-wife and asking questions about me, and she's like, "Hey, weird call I just got. FBI is interested in you." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You're on this list, number 296." I look it up, I'm like, "Oh wow, that's me." Stupidly, I thought, well, I'm not a member of the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Three Percenters, or any militia group. I'll just call up the FBI, explain that I didn't go in the building. They'll know this, and like I didn't destroy anything. Um, I'll go on about my life, and that'll be that. So I contacted a lawyer. We contacted the FBI. They said, "No, we don't have a warrant on him, so we're not going to talk to him." So, well, they're calling all my people. Like, just
That's
talk to me.
interesting.
Yeah, just have a conversation. I'll come on down. If you're going to arrest me, I'll come turn myself in. No big deal. We'll figure it out. I'm like, at worst, it's a misdemeanor. And so 3 weeks later, they come screeching up in front of my house when I'm going out to do a job. I'm walking out my truck. They come guns drawn and screaming at me. And I'm like, well, hey, what took you so long? And so they take me down to jail, and I'm sitting in there. It's in the middle of COVID. So I do a Zoom meeting with the Minnesota magistrate, and she orders me released. Well, before that hearing was over, they appealed it to the chief judge in DC. I went in front of this hard left activist. She screamed at me in front of everyone in court, said I was a leader in this, said I was single-handedly responsible for making America a laughingstock, and that there were no set of conditions where the general public could be safe if I was released. Now, my alleged horrible assaults was this push that you saw. And then they took a still frame of my foot off the ground at one point when I was going and trying to help an officer up. And I was actually backing away from them because another officer came in and they were screaming. I backed away from the group. And I actually proved in court later that I couldn't have kicked this officer, but they claimed because the foot was off the ground that I kicked him. And so those were my two alleged charges. And for that, I was so dangerous that you couldn't let me out because I serial pusher. So yeah, that was it. So they ordered me shackled hand and foot, put on Con Air, and transported across the country. And they threw me in the dog. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know there was other guys in there, right? So there's this pod where we're all supposed to be. And when I initially came in, they didn't put me in there. They put me in Gen Pop. So general population in DC is 99.9% Black. When I come in, they go, "Oh, this guy, yeah, he's racist, extremist, and dangerous. Put him down there." And in front of like three Black dudes that are looking me up and down like they want to tear my head off. I was like, well, this is where I die. So literally they popped the door for 2 hours a day, and that's when you could get out to do, get showered and make phone calls and presumably have rec, though there was no real rec. And that's when I started having to fight just to survive because I was getting attacked. I watched people get shanked in front of me. It's literally probably the most violent jail in the country. The guards are corrupt. They set up fights. They kill people in there. They tried to have me killed. I'm not the only one. This is a regular occurrence. They deprive people of water. They deprive people of food. I went up for up to 3 days at one point with water turned off in our cell because they didn't like us. Then I fired my attorney in that process, represented myself, and I ended up getting myself over to the Jan 6 pod, where we were even further persecuted in that, where we weren't allowed haircuts, we weren't allowed toenail clippers, we weren't allowed basic hygiene. Our food was usually tainted. It tasted like chemicals. So we couldn't actually eat the food that they gave us. We had to get stuff off commissary, so it screwed with everybody's health. At one point, they deprived us of all our constitutional rights and due process. I couldn't have any of my discovery. This is well chronicled through all my hearings with my judge. that they kept denying us over and over again, all of that. And at one point, I demanded my discovery. A lieutenant sprayed me in the face with OC spray. I was beaten by the ERT team and thrown in solitary confinement. And this was a repeated process. I spent 5 to 7 months in solitary confinement, and at one point over 100 days straight in solitary before I managed.
That's just it's tearing at your core soul, you know. It's really trying to beat you down. I hope those guys that are doing that get tried and lose their jobs and lose their, go to jail for that. I mean, that's not doing your job anymore, you know.
No.
Are you guys like all talking, all you J6ers? Like I know Jake Lang has something going on. You've got Chris has a program he's doing, like Freedom. I tried to get him on, but we're not connecting. And are you guys all kind of collaborating?
Somewhat. So what I've done at this point, where I guess maybe I've varied from what other people are trying to do. Jake's lawsuit is a non-starter. We've gone through, I've looked at the legal process. I've represented myself for a long time. There are some lawsuits that are going to be coming down the line. There's a couple high-profile attorneys. Obviously, you saw me on with Mark McCloskey there at CPAC with Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
And he's working with a few others, names you know. They are going to be, there's some things in the works. I really can't go too much into detail. There'll be opportunities for guys to go through this. The reality of what I've looked at through most of this is it's going to end up being individual tort claims that are going to have to be brought to work this through with the government. Now, obviously, Congress could come through and give us, pay everybody off. Once they find out what happens, they can put a fund together and take care of this, because I've literally lost everything out of this. For me personally, I can't speak to what everyone else has lost, but I've heard up to $12 million from people. This has cost me over $1 million, virtually everything that I've owned except for my truck and what I could fit into a storage unit.
Well, just the fact that you guys lost your houses. Some people lost houses. Some people lost cars. They lost they emptied out their 401ks to pay for attorneys. An attorney, I don't know how much your attorney was, but some guys are saying that you just needed over $100,000 to be represented.
Oh yeah. My first quote was $250,000 to get started. That was number one. To get an actual defense for the amount of volume that they had. None of us had a real defense. The closest that came to a real defense was the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, and even that was so tainted that it wasn't even close to a fair trial. The stuff that I could show you about that would blow your mind. I mean, we know for a fact that there were, because they screwed up and they sent the internal FBI, their internal communication, basically their internal texts. They screwed up and sent it there. In it, they were actually colluding to figure out how to destroy the marriage of one of the guys, because they had identified him as the weakest. And if they could cause him to cause his wife to leave him, then he would turn against all the others. They talked about destroying 800 pieces of evidence there, and on and on and on. When it was brought in front of the judge ordered that all of the lawyers were to destroy all that evidence and never speak about it again. That may or may not still exist and may or may not be coming out in the future. So
Well, I have talked to some guys where their girls didn't stick around.
Oh yeah, I'm one of them. So yeah, that I mean, you lost fiancés, girlfriends, wives, kids. I have family members that won't speak to me this day over that. Supposed friends, acquaintances. I lost. I built up my career. I was vice president of sales and marketing on a company that I built up, and at this point, I lost that job immediately. That was a good 6-figure income. You can't duplicate building a business. I was 42 years old when this all happened. I spent my entire 30s and into my 40s building this company from the ground up. You don't duplicate that. So how do you put a number on
it? Takes
that?
time. I know it's your entire life, and then to move forward. And because you're, now you're a J6er, just all of us who went to the rally. Down here we had bus loads picking up people and driving them up to the rally to see Trump's speech. I mean, I was there. I was a volunteer for the gate where people went in. I saw the Oath Keepers go in. I saw, I saw all them because I was at the gate there volunteering, and we were there, and it was freezing, and I couldn't go to the Capitol because I have hip bursitis, and I could barely walk back to the hotel after standing all those hours in that freezing weather. But it
Yeah.
was a great day. Like, what I saw was happy people, blue, red hats, white flags, people. As a matter of fact, before people walked in through the gates to get to the stage area, they would empty their pockets out. People were leaving backpacks on the fence there. They were leaving their blowhorns on the fence. There was this one pole, and I was like, where can you have this? People were taking out their pocket knives and leaving them by a light post. I'm like, and they're going to come back when they're done with the rally, when he's done speaking, come back and pick their stuff up. And nobody was stealing it or grabbing it. They were emptying their pockets and leaving it. I even took a picture of that pole, and I'm like, look, there's a really nice knife there. I can't believe somebody left that there. But they wanted to go in and hear him speak, and you had to walk through the security. And if you had any of that, you were not going in.
Yep.
So it was really a nice, cold, but a patriotic day of people that just love America, all walks of life, all ages. I remember an old lady coming up to our gate, and she said, I lost my crew. I came in a bus and I lost them. And that day they had told us, the staff had told us, if you walk to the Capitol, stay away from this area, because we were told BLM and Antifa are in this certain area. So I told the little old couple, and I said, just head that way and look for your people, try to stay away from this area. But it was a really historic day of joy.
Yep.
So when they say, the Capitol, all those pictures that they just show, I know for a fact, I didn't go to the Capitol, but I know for a fact that whole crowd that walked all the way there did not go there to do an insurrection. They did not go there to be violent. They went there to peacefully assemble and voice and sing like they were singing, because I had friends that were out there and they sang and they talked about singing. And just like you guys, you all know that there was singing going on there. And it's the Metropolitan Police that really were the agitators. And what are you going to do if you're in a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people and it's like being on a subway train. You can only move a few inches, and you throw that pepper spray in the crowd, and it's I think it was Kelly Meggs. I interviewed him, and he gave a good description of what it felt like to be in a crowd when the pepper spray goes in. I've never been pepper sprayed, but he said it sucks the air out, like you can't breathe. So of course people are going to react and panic and push back, but there's nowhere for them to go except in front of the cops, like, stop. So that's why I think it's important for everybody to hear you guys talk about this and understand that the pardon isn't enough. Like, you came out, and how are you rebuilding yourself? How, I know you're traveling, but you still have to get funds coming in. Money is still a valuable source of survival.
Yeah. So yeah, they effectively made me homeless. And so if it wasn't for the generosity of the American public, I would be completely destitute. There are people who've stepped up through my Give, Send, Go to help keep me going. Now, what I felt an obligation through all this, that quite frankly, I couldn't go back to being a landscaper after this. It's too much, right? So, I have enough talents and abilities. I could go do anything. I could go make money doing whatever. There's more to me that matters that did before, but it definitely does now. I've seen things that that shouldn't exist, right? I've seen the real evil that exists within our federal government. The stuff that we always talk about, um, being a target of that and seeing how evil and corrupt the system really is, and when you're a target, that they will destroy you. Uh, I believed in the Constitution, and I say believed and not believed because
Mhm. I caught
it
that.
it does not exist the way that we think it is or the way we're taught it. And so when I was in the gulag, what I had to defend myself against the full weight and might of the federal government was a pen, a paper, and a pocket constitution. And that pocket constitution should have been enough. But my due process rights were violated so egregiously and so flagrantly on a daily basis, that the Constitution didn't matter. And so at this point, the only fight that I have in me and the only fight that truly matters is for the Constitution. Our entire judicial system and quite frankly, our entire society is built around that document. And if we don't rely on that, then everything else that we're hearing, everything else that we're doing, what is it serving? It's definitely not serving the people. We have a unique form of government here. And
Yeah,
there's a
we have a constitutional representative republic. You know, our states are federalist states and they're almost like 50 little countries because you can go from one state to another and the laws are different. You know, they're
right,
specific for the needs of the people in that state as long as they're under the umbrella of the Constitution and not violating it, you
but we
know?
aren't.
And
It's
we
the
are, exactly.
federal government that supersedes everything else. And so, I want people to think about this. Um, one, one of the things they used against me in this was a Facebook post that I made. Had I known it was going to be used against me, maybe I would have reworded it. But in there, I called for the complete and total destruction of the federal government, our monetary system, and a few other things. Um, I wasn't far off. Actually, I was really dead over target because here's what I want people to think. If the government decides that they don't like you, they come in, this is the federal government, mind you, they can come in, pick you up, take you to court. And if your judge in your state says, no, we're going to go ahead and let them out, they can appeal it to themselves. And that judge can come in and say, nope, we overrule you. We are going to hold this person, kidnap you, take you across the country, throw you in a hole, and not let you out until they have a trial based on them saying that you did a thing, them being the judge, jury, and executioner. And then if you don't like it, you can appeal it to them. So there is no oversight in this. We are not citizens anymore. We are slaves. If you don't think so, wait till you do something that the federal government doesn't like, and they show up on your doorstep because they will. And that's what my fight is now. Is I've seen exactly what it is, because when I was in there and I had that pocket constitution, even if every single person in the country stood against me and every single bit of the government did, when they violated that constitution, that should have been enough to get me out. That should have thrown out the entire case, because that's the level that we hold that constitution to be. That civil rights that exist for you and me are
Yep.
more important than the federal government or the states. And if you
I always
understand
have mine. Mine is always with me.
fantastic. So if we don't support that, then we do not have any more power. And I don't care if I hate your politics. If I absolutely abhor every single thing about your politics and who you are as a person, I think you're the most abhorrent pile that has ever walked the face of this earth. You still have the same rights under that constitution as the rest of us. And when they violate that, they should open up the doors and set you free, because that's how we know that we are morally right, is when we stand by the Constitution, we ensure that you have those rights, and we have a fair trial. When you're found guilty at that point, then you can go, hey, they found me guilty. I might not agree with it, but all my rights were held in place all the way along, and we followed the Constitution, we followed the law. When they set that aside, when it's the ends justify the means, when it's all about politics, that's when it becomes tyrannical and corrupt. And we have shown that all three branches of government have become that. They have all turned against we the people. And we the people have to take that back. And that's why
Well,
for me,
they're not following the Constitution. I mean, where in the Constitution does it say we're supposed to have US aid for other countries?
right.
Congress has, enumerated powers, and when you read their enumerated powers, where does it say in there that they hold the keys to the purse of the nation to give money to other nations? That's not in there. I've
Well,
read it over and over again, and I'm like, where does it say we're supposed to be supporting other nations, giving our
real quick,
money to them?
read the 10th Amendment. Those not specifically spelled out in that document are reserved for the states or the people respectively. So no,
Right.
okay, let's go through it. FBI, unconstitutional. ATF, unconstitutional. Fed, unconstitutional. All of these agencies, three-letter alphabets, they are all unconstitutional. So when I say defund it, defund the entire thing. The entire
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
USAID is a great start. Keep going.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have all these federal judges. There's no reason to have the DOJ. There is a handful of cases that should come under the federal system. Otherwise, they should be there for appeal purposes. Every single bit of this should be through the states. And if you
Mhm.
can't get on board with that, you're either stupid, ignorant, or in on it. So, which are you? Are you stupid, ignorant, or in on it? Because that's the only people that are going to protest against the complete and total destruction of the federal government, with the exception of those things that are enumerated in the articles of the Constitution. Period.
I
It's
think
that
what
simple.
really I think what really brought light to people was people eventually woke up, and they're still starting to wake up to what is going on with the government now that Trump's in office. A lot of things are changing, but they didn't realize that the government got so powerful, like you guys experienced. You can be innocent, but if they want you to be guilty, they'll make sure you are guilty. And it's gotten to the point where the people are afraid of their own government. And that's not how it should be, because we elect them to represent us. But at the same time, we also have a lot of people moving to our country that come from nations where they don't have three forms of government. They don't have, the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. They don't have all those branches. So they don't realize that one of the most important branches is your Congress, the people you elect. The president can make all of these executive power rule changes, but in 4 years, if they don't become constitutional bills, guess what? The next president comes in
Yep.
and he uses his executive powers. So unless our representatives are creating constitutional bills for the people, to represent the people, we're just going to have this cycle of that's regurgitating good and bad policies.
Absolutely. And we have a small window here where we need to make, astronomical changes and meaningful, lasting change. In some of it, but yeah, Congress needs to get moving. Johnson has a lot of things that he needs to be moving on, and yeah, we're sick of the politics, and if they aren't moving on it, uh, we have seen enough to know that there's enough corruption that we will primary you right the hell out of there. Um, so they better step up in a big way, because there are people who are wide awake. There are those of us who have seen the truth. And we're not afraid anymore. So it warms my heart when I see someone like AOC burst into tears over January 6th. I love it. I love the fact that we showed up on their doorstep and they're afraid of us. That's the only real problem there. We didn't go there for this. We got attacked. But I think there should be some fear. I think they should be scared to death of us. That is when you get something to happen. If they are scared to death of us, then they do the right thing. See, if they don't have the FBI and all these three-letter agencies to hide behind, and they have to walk down the street and actually face their constituents, they do things a little different. See, it wasn't till very recently in our history that happened. You could go up to the White House knock on the door and seek an audience with the president and get it, right? You could do this. Your congressmen, and these weren't people who were allotted and held to this high esteem. These were average schmoes who you could go up and have a conversation with. Oh, and by the way, they used to beat the crap out of each other in office there. And if they didn't like what the other one said, they'd challenge each other to a duel, take it out on the street, and shoot one of them. So this idea that they have to be protected and hide, they're doing that because they're the single biggest criminal enterprise that's ever existed. They're a money laundering scheme, and they're all in on it. So if you aren't against it, it's real simple. If you don't like what Doge is doing, if you don't like USAID getting raided and shut down, one of two things: you're a useful idiot or you're in on it. And if you
That's
don't
right.
understand what the idiot means, you are one. Go read some Stalin quotes. All right. So that's what you are. So go figure it out. The adults are at the table now. All right. We're finished. We're done. We're fed up and we're pissed off. And so they screwed with the wrong group of people. We were the ones that were concerned enough that and fed up enough with the COVID BS, all the shutdowns, being told we were racist for how many years, that we were misogynistic, that we were Islamophobic, that we were transphobic, that we were all these things, all their failed policies that we've watched the last 4 years of this garbage that they tried to ram down our throats, that we knew was garbage, that was nothing but destroy our country. Those of us who saw that coming, those of us that saw the election BS and saw through all their garbage, we were the ones that were concerned enough to drive across the country in the freezing cold and stand there and support our congressmen and senators who are going to stand up and say, no, we need to send this back to the states. And they were stupid enough to think that they were going to beat us to the ground and get us to go ahead and turn on our president, because that's what this was about. Us saying, yes, we did this awful thing, and it was that evil orange man that did it. Orange man bad, go get him. We didn't do it. Nobody fell for it. We got him back in office, and now it's our turn. And what do you think is going to happen when it's our turn? You tried to kill us and it didn't work. I've been out here for 43, 45 days, something like that so far. I've met with a number of congressmen. I've met with oversight. We've met with, I don't know how many of these guys we have set up into place right now. I've been working with Chaplain Joshua Macias, the founder of Veterans for Trump, and the August 6 Foundation. I formed the Civil Liberties Division with him on that. Our mission right now is to get a real Jan 6 investigation and to work on prison reform. We have it in place, and we're moving forward with it, and we will be the investigative body of January 6th. I have a good relationship with virtually everybody in the community. I don't personally know all 1,583, but I know enough of them. The ones who have really been embedded in this, we're going to pull them together. We're going to pull 20 to 30 of them into a group, and that's going to be the core group of investigators. The stuff that we have seen, the stuff that we haven't been able to get out in the mainstream media, we're going to do it. We're going to sit in front of C-SPAN, and you're going to watch the truth happen live on TV. You're going to actually see this on these networks, and they can't sit there and taint it anymore. You're going to see how the Jan 6 committee lied, how they committed crimes. You're going to see how Pelosi lied and committed crimes. Milley, you name it. I've seen the evidence. This is corruption at the highest level. It's the single biggest conspiracy in U.S. history, and you're going to see we the people display that to the world. It's going to be magnificent, and when it's all over, the people are going to demand that the right things are done. There's people who are going to get indicted. There's people who are going to be in handcuffs, and they're going to find themselves in the same prisons that they threw us into. And at the end of it, we will be made whole from this. There will be big fat checks paid, as there should be, to make sure that this never happens again. And that's the goal. And that's beyond a goal. It's what's going to happen. And you just had Loudermilk a couple days ago state that, yes, there is a Jan 6 committee getting formed. Johnson just needs to make it happen. When it does, I've already offered up to be liaison to that group and to that committee. We've spoken with his office, and we'll go make that happen. We've put all the mechanisms in place to do the investigation. We have the database open to it. We're already running reports through AI. We're collecting all these documents and videos that we have into one place. They're all on secured servers. We have former military people working on this. We have best and brightest already involved in this. So we're
That's
doing the
great.
investigation for them already.
I've talked to a lot of people and they say the way it all transpired, it had to happen this way because so much got exposed all the way from the stolen elections, the impeachment. It's what had to take place for those real hard-headed people that were not woken up by what was going on to wake up. You know what I mean? We had to go through the Biden regime for those people to finally say, this is fucked up. We need to switch sides. We don't want that anymore. Kamala Harris, whoa, she's like stupid as a rock. It really made people wake up. And then out of that process, newborn warriors came out of the woodwork. People saying, I've got to contribute. There's something I've got to do somewhere. I've got to fit in. More podcasters come out, and we can't listen to news media anymore. We've got to report the real news, and getting shut down off of Facebook. So it's, I've talked to a lot of people and they really believe that this is just the cycle it needed to go through because we were on the verge of losing our nation. We were on the verge of being taken over. The corruption is so deep. It was always going to be a conspiracy. That's a conspiracy. It's not really happening. But now it's come to fruition, and you guys are coming out. And who would know that you needed prison reform before you guys were there? You guys come out and you're telling us all this stuff and we're like, wow, it's that bad? Like we're so detached. So it seems like it was a lesson for us to learn, and it's not over yet though. We have to clean out the house, and we've got to clean out those representatives that are not loyal to this country. And that they're destroying it by the decisions they're making, and term limits has got to get into place. I don't know how you feel about term limits, but people are so freaking old. I saw, what was it? Maxine Waters get out of the car and she had 2 canes. Was it her or was it Pelosi? One of those old ladies had 2 canes. And then at the president's speech, the lady with the purple hair, I was like, how old is that lady? She's got purple hair. She looks like she's 90 years old.
It's embarrassing.
How do they even relate to what we're living in this world every day? They walk around with, first of all, they're millionaires now. They went in like you and me, and now they're millionaires. And then they have security around them all the time, and they're chauffeured. They don't even have to drive themselves around town. So how are they representing we the people?
They definitely aren't. And that's one of the big issues. And I firmly believe that they are not getting elected. I don't believe that they are.
I don't see how.
I really don't. And here's the biggest thing that we need to do is we need to make elections great again. It's real simple. I have to have an ID for every freaking thing on the face of the planet. I can't buy cough medicine without an ID, right? Can't catch a fish without an ID. I walk up to do my election and I go, hey, can I get a ballot? Here's the ballot. Here's my ID. And we checky off on a box and I put it on there. Now, here's my question is, when you scan that, why can't I have a specific ID? I don't know, maybe my social security number, which is specific to me, and that I can go back in at any point, plug that into the computer and go, yep, that is actually the thing that I filled out and that matches. And that's on there forever. Weird concept, really strange, that you'd put in a paper ballot and it would compute it. I don't know. And 3 things I'm bad at, it's math and counting, but I think that I might be able to sit down as a human being and have 3 of us lined up and we could tally ballots at pretty much any precinct all day long and compare that, yep, that's right, that's right, that's right, and know exactly how this works out. It doesn't take this giant sophisticated mechanism unless you're
No, it
trying to
doesn't.
and simple. It's not that
Yeah,
hard.
we have so many precincts that if each precinct did their counting, it would get done. And you would have it done. Like every night, if you counted those ballots, sealed them up, closed them, put them in the tally, you would have it done. There's no, I'm still counting ballots a month later. That's bullshit.
We know it's lies. You know it's lies. So
It's
why aren't we demanding it's fixed? Well, it's really simple why we're not demanding it's fixed, because those who control it have rigged it. So if you're against voter ID, you're in on it. It's that simple. If
mm,
you are actually not in on it and you're against voter ID, you're an idiot. Because show me the disenfranchised voter right now. Now, if you went back to, say 1882 and you went to the Deep South and you said there's disenfranchised voters, and here's why: because the Ku Klux Klan sits outside of the polling place, and anytime anyone darker than khaki shows up, then they don't get to vote, okay, or they're intimidated. Cool, that's a disenfranchised voter. We can all get behind that. There is not a single person in America who's a disenfranchised voter. Find me one. Find me one in America in 2025. There, it doesn't exist. So your whole premise, your whole reasoning for this is flawed. But I will tell you this: if you have illegal voters who you want there, if you have a whole bunch of people, like, I don't know, 20, 30 million that you let flood into the country because you realized that black vote that you had been lying to for the last 40, 50 years, all of a sudden went, hey, you know what? Every 4 years they show up and they promise some crap and it doesn't happen. But this dude over here actually is helping us out. We're going to go vote for the red guys for a while. And you went, oh crap, we just lost our whole voter base and we're never actually going to get elected ever again. But you know what we figured out? When we brought in the Hmongs after Vietnam, and we gave them a whole bunch of free businesses and tax-free stuff, and they voted for us, like happened up here in Minnesota a whole bunch where I'm from. And then you did it with the Somalians, and then you went ahead and did it with the Iraqis, and they vote for you. And then you figured out, hey, all these guys coming over the border, if you give them a whole bunch of free stuff and you tell them who to vote for, they vote for you. So you don't actually have Americans voting for you. So you need to replace them with something. So you go over and you find a whole bunch of foreign people and you bring them over here and you give them a bunch of free stuff and they vote for you. Weird. So no, we actual Americans, we're not xenophobic. We're not racist.
mm.
We are here for us. And every single black person who votes as a Democrat, I can tell you right now, is an idiot or in on it. If you haven't figured out at this point that they are not for you, you're just a moron. There's no way around it. Period.
Yeah, they've got that systemic racism that they're bleeding into the kids, and thank God DEI is gone. But they still have ways of getting it into the system, into the school systems. Our school district here is still fighting a desegregation order.
And that's the big problem there. And for anyone who'll call me, anyone calls me racist, I can invite my black girlfriend over here to sit down and discuss that. So yeah, that's because I love that one. That was floating around there. So
I like talking to her too. She's a good woman. I like talking to her. Yeah,
she's actually she freaks out the white liberals when she comes. Tells them the truth, and they just go, oh my God, it's melting my brain. Actually, we did it with it was the best thing ever. We're sitting in Congress and we're sitting down with Code Pink, who we met in there. We met the founders. Actually, I made good friends with the founder of Code Pink, and we're sitting there with a couple of them, and this guy's looking at me, he's real angry, and I'm talking about prison reform, and we're talking, and I'm sitting there, I got my black girlfriend with me, and I'm this dirty Trumpster insurrectionist who he's convinced is this pile, evil person, and I'm talking about prison reform, and he's like, but you're talking about like mostly minorities. I said, yeah, absolutely. It's mostly minorities that I'm trying to help and get out of prison right now because they should be. And the BOP is corrupt and it's keeping them in prison when they shouldn't. And the DOJ is corrupt and they're in on it and they're stopping them from getting in the courts. And I can prove it. And Trump ran on this. And now I can go to him and help get them out of prison. And he's over there. He's just, this And I said, "You're all right. It looks like I'm kind of melting your brain." He's like, "Yeah, I can't, I don't understand." He's like, I don't know what to make of you because I like the words that you're saying, but but you're MAGA, but you're saying all the right words." Like, dude, yeah, because it's the propaganda. I literally melted the core beliefs that he had. And so he literally couldn't get past the fact that I'm telling him exactly what he wanted to hear. And it was coming out of this guy's mouth. And it's like, oh, yeah, dude, we're not that different. You think that we're the bad guys because you've been indoctrinated with so much propaganda in the education system that is all leftist. And you're just brainwashed. I don't know what else to tell you, but here,
I
stop
almost
drinking.
want to say it's because when I grew up, they taught us how to think, not what to think. But you're younger than me, so you're a little bit younger than me. I don't know what schools you went to, but you know how to think.
Crazy enough, I went to Loudoun County in Virginia where the whole DEI thing blew up. The whole, I mean, everything came out of Loudoun County. So it was ironic while I'm sitting in prison watching this DEI thing blow up. And I'm like, that's the school board that, me and my parents used to fight against way back in the 70s and 80s. So yeah, it's, I feel like the Forrest Gump of politics lately because you run through all my stuff and all these weird tentacles keep running out and I keep running into people and all these different things. It's bizarre. So yeah, no, I did Loudoun County public school system, nice and liberal, and I watched this stuff years ago. Teachers didn't know what to make of me back then either. So
Well, the prison actually is very segregated, right? They like hang out in groups.
oh yeah, for sure. It's a weird.
So, like, if you're like a white person, what group do you fall into? Because white people could be like Irish or, like I'm Puerto Rican, but I look white.
Yeah, you
You
might
know
make
what
the
I
cut.
mean?
So you ride in cars is what they do in prison. So it's who you ride with. So you don't identify yourself as a good white. That means you have good paperwork, which means you're not a sex offender and you didn't snitch on anyone. Then the blacks usually have their own car. Then the natives have their own car. The Hispanics, you get the illegals, and then you get the legal ones that are in another group. Natives, the islanders. So you all get segregated. Just it happens that way, and you have to because that otherwise you get targeted and you get abused, and it's not good.
Yeah, I think
So
it's really sad that we lost two guys, two of the J6ers, that's really sad. And then the other J6ers, Roseanne Boylan, Ashley Babbitt, and then there's two others, two gentlemen, right? I can't remember their name.
yeah, oh my God, Benjamin, Kevin Greason, and I'm blanking
Yeah,
on
it's in
Benjamin.
Kelly
Both have
Meggs and Robert Morse wrote a book, and they highlight all those guys in there. So that's really nice that they did that.
We've lost 4 now to suicide. Maybe as many as 6. I'm not sure, but I'm wanting to keep that number from growing at all.
Yeah, because it's hard for the guys and girls coming out. It's still, you can fall into a deep depression, just trying to integrate into society again when you've lost everything. So,
I am going to try here. I have to pull off this microphone, otherwise my phone is going to die. So we are going to do a quick switcheroo.
Let me play your song while you're doing that. Let me bring your song up.
There we go.
All right, so I've got it pulled up. It's on YouTube. So if you guys want to listen to the song,
Brian Mock
on
was
YouTube.
arrested on June 11th, 2021 because he stood up with 1 million other patriots to have his voice heard on Jan 6th. He is not a criminal. He is a concerned citizen who stood up for me and my brothers. He was taken by gunpoint, transported across the country, and held for 347 days in D.C. jail. He was abused, deprived of his constitutional rights, and unable to see his family. He spent 5 months in solitary confinement. To this day, he continues his legal battle and maintains his innocence. While locked in a 6x10 cell, he wrote a song for me and my brothers. We encouraged him to record it and share it with the world. Please share this, learn his story, and if you can, please support him in his fight for justice.
this one's for my boys and old man. They're sending me away 'cause I took the stand. My voice is all that I can give. They've taken everything except this life I live. The politicians smile when they burn my town. Say tear another statue to the ground. They try and divide with fear and hate, and keep us in our homes till it's too late. Well, they came with guns, said welcome to our head. No rights, no tribe, then they locked me in a cell. So to my boys I left behind that January day, I stood for thoughts, I stood for words you may never get to see. And through the years and all the tears, we may never be the same. So I pray there's men on the block lost everything, but every single night there's an anthem they sing. And then I sit down, try and write to my son words about wisdom and honor and love. Will they ever understand that I stood for them? Trying to right the wrongs that evil put us in. So to my boys I left behind that January day, I stood for thoughts, I stood for words you may never get to say. And through the years and all the tears, we may never be the same. So I pray that you choose to see through all the lies that you're told. They can take time, but they can't take your mind or your soul. They want you to hate, but it's never too late to choose love. So choose love and choose love, choose love, choose love, 'cause there's a formula of lies and mistrust. They used to tear down the best of us. There's a simple answer to what we must do. Strip them of their power, give it back to you. If you stand with the truth, they'll put you in a cage. If you talk about freedom, they'll remind you you're a slave. So to my boys I left behind that January day, I stood for thoughts, I stood for words you may never get to say. And through the years and all the tears, we may never be the same. So I pray my voice is all that I can give. They've taken everything except this life I live. So this one's for my poison old man. They're sending me away 'cause I took the stand. away 'cause I took a stand. Is there anyone left to make a stand?
Wow. I just, that was
Ah,
great. I love that video.
it's been a minute since I've actually watched that, and
It's
yeah,
very touching. It's really touching.
yeah, I kind of forget that it's got all the guys in it because I just it's not like I sit around and watch it on a regular basis. It's actually probably been a couple of years since I've actually watched that all the way through. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it kinda got to me because Mickey is Ashley Babbitt's mom, and she was out there like fighting for you guys.
oh
And
yeah,
I mean, she was just a fighter, and it
she was a
just that
champ.
video just gets to me.
Mel Holly did that for me after I got it recorded, and she's been she's been a good friend of mine and supporter through all this, and it's been it's been a wild ride. It really has. And sorry, my stand is doing weird things right now.
That's
Um,
okay, but you did a good job at putting that video together and just listening to the words. Oh man, it just
yeah, it's the weird thing is it just I tell people that when you write music, the best ones just kind of happen. It's like the universe puts them together and they just flow out. That was one that it just I was sitting there trying to write a letter to my kid the one day, and it was right after we do our the anthem every night, and it just kind of flowed out, and then to come out and the music was quick and it just kind of came together. So it was probably the most creative thing I've ever done, and it all flowed. So it just happened, and so I'm proud of that. The
you
stuff that we're
should
doing.
be because it to me it comes right down from deep down in your soul, and
Yeah,
and it portrays that, and I can feel it. So that's you need
definitely
to
honest.
keep doing that.
Yeah, well, in my free time, I will. I'll definitely see what else I can create here. One day I'll have that, so we'll see what comes then. But yeah, I mean, the things that are coming now, we've got a big press conference on the 27th about First Step Act, and that's gonna be coming out. It's gonna be huge. That'll be here in the Capitol in DC. So stay tuned for that. I'll start doing some announcements of our formation of our division, the Civil Liberties Division here of On Your Six. That's coming within the next day. That should be out. So keep an eye on my X account. Handles Brian Mock PPOW. That'll be coming, and then I'll have links to our new website. And yeah, there's gonna be a ton coming down. It's gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna so stay tuned for that and other things. And there'll be some congressional announcements pretty soon, and we'll be right in the mix of it. So it's our turn to go in and do what we're supposed to do and what God has intended for us to do. And it's really cool because when we left our house, we jumped in the truck and we just said, God, send us where we're supposed to be, and had no idea when we did that. Like to
Yeah,
look
we got
back over days and see what he dropped into place. Um, it definitely wasn't me, or her. It was just, it was God working in all these ways, and I can't even fully describe to people the amount of people that have been just falling in our place. And by the time we left CPAC, nobody knew who we were walking in. And by the end of CPAC, we had the people that we were going to visit were the ones that they would leave people in the rooms and come to us and start asking for selfies and autographs, and wanting to talk to us. We we became the celebrities of CPAC by the end of it, which was crazy. But with that comes that responsibility where, to me, it's what you do next. So,
Yeah.
and I do want to take the time to thank everybody who did support us while we were in the gulag and going forward. As you'd said, like, there's people who have been wiped out. I'm one of them. And there's people that are trying to rebuild. My calling was to come out here and fight and become an advocate. And there's people that are helping me on my Give, Send, Go to make that happen. I appreciate that. My Give, Send, Go is Help Brian Mock. If you feel inclined to help, this is going towards me being able to work with Josh in Adam Villarreal, which we'll have him on with you. I can't wait for you to hear his story. He's the guy who
I would love to hear his story.
Yeah, he successfully evaded the FBI for 4 years. The guy's they wanted 90 out of him because of his running. So he was literally running for his life. His story's crazy. I'm working with him. He's my right-hand man. We're partnered up on this thing. We just met at CPAC, and we're already like partners.
You're tight.
It's awesome. So we're out here changing the world. It's great. We have meetings tomorrow, starting in the morning. We're on the Hill all day. We're working on getting into the White House. We're working with. We're. I hate to even say it on camera. We're this close to working with Doge right now. We have. Oh yeah, it's to go from sitting in prison a few months ago to where we're at now. It's this only happens in this country, and that's one of the great things is there's literally nowhere else on this planet, no other time in history could you pluck a group of people out of prison and flip the script the way that we have, and be able to the law to have the law used against us to actually just usurp the law after us, but then to be able to use it to go back for good. It's great. So that's the goal. It's so cool, and it's all God's putting into place. So
Brian, I want to thank you for coming home. Thank you for coming home. And it's got to be a struggle with all the great things that you're doing. You still have this internalness that you have to heal as well, and know that we love you. There's patriots out here, America first people that love you guys, and we want to spread your word, and we want you guys to get the help that you need. And I've got your Give, Send, Go, givesendgo.com, free Brian Mock.
Brian Mock. So
what?
The old one, free Brian Mock. The new one is Help Brian Mock. But if you type in my name and find its way to me,
I'm going to put help in there, so it'll scroll on the bottom. So we'll fix that. My puppy is you hear her barking?
All good. We've got our
there
puppy
we go.
running.
Help Brian Mock. And we're gonna keep a fight going on, right? We're not gonna cowtail to anybody, and we're not gonna give up. And Brian, I want to thank you so much for coming on and telling your story, and for everything that you're doing. And everybody, please remember to go to Brian Mock's Give, Send, Go, Help Brian Mock. And remember to watch his video. You can watch his video on YouTube. If you go to Brian Mock Music, The Stand, that's the official video. And I'm so proud of you for making that. And I can't tell you, Brian, it makes me cry every time I listen to it.
Yeah, I got a little jaded to it, but going back now, it has a little, it hits a little differently now. So yeah.
Well, and it's got all those guys in there, and I've seen some of their stories, I've seen some of their interviews. So it connects with me,
Yeah. They're all great guys. And that's the thing when you go through here and you actually meet these guys and you see what they went through and just average dude. And I can't even say average dudes because they're great guys, and there's actual heroes in there.
They really are. Like Robert Morse, I wanted to adopt him.
Right?
What a great young man. I was like, I want to adopt this kid. He's not much younger than my son.
Yeah, he's
giving away my age now.
He's going to turn into an amazing leader one day. I mean, he already is, but he's one that I've told him before, he's getting elected to public office, and that guy has the ability to be president one day. And I hope I can help get there. Yeah, I like you look at these guys like Jeff McKellop. I mean, this is a guy who I call a hero, and I don't call people heroes. I don't think there's very many out there. And this was a guy that was a hero, not for anything at January 6th. None of us are heroes for January 6th. But this is a guy who is a Green Beret, Special Forces, the stuff that he did for our country, and the fact that he says he feels betrayed by our country, and he was. But this is a guy that everybody should be listening to, who definitely deserves a voice. And I'm proud to call that guy my brother, and I would do anything for him. To be able to for folks like you to help give a voice to us, when not long ago we were the most hated people in the country, not only by the left but also by a lot of people on the right. To have that support's amazing. So I thank you for the platform. I thank you for the opportunity. We'll come back with good stuff, and I do feel an obligation to go out there and succeed in a big way, not just for me, but for all of you. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So definitely keep in touch, come back, give us your updates. I'd love to have you on again. And
It'll be fun.
we're going to close out the show. I'm going to put you back in the green room. And if you want to hang around, we can talk after the show closes out. Well, thank you everybody for joining Binford Chronicles. This was really an amazing interview with Brian Mock, all these January 6th patriots. The best thing we can do is get to know them, understand their story, and realize what has gone on in our nation. And it's up to us to make the change. So patriots, show your support. Go to givesendgo.com. Help Brian Mock. Help this gentleman out. He's a warrior for the United States of America, for the people. He's a people's voice. And join us again for our next interview. And remember to like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for your comments. Truthful troll. I really appreciated your comments. And subscribe so that when I go online again, you will get a notification and you can join the podcast, or you can join and watch and share. Thank you.